Hello everyone, welcome to the debut of the brand new 360 Wrestling podcast, 360 Anything Goes, which is my first ever non-pro wrestling podcast. But don't worry, I just want to say here at the beginning, the first main most important thing of 360 Wrestling podcasts will always be pro wrestling. I just want to say that. But this one is going to be done a little different. There will be one episode a week, and I'm going to try to have each new episode released Thursdays at 4 p.m., which lately I have been getting a little better with having, I wouldn't say maybe an exact time, but around the same time. Good morning, wrestling fans, and 360 Wrestling Fanatic are usually released. Usually, of course, in the morning around the same time. I do GMWF, and then usually after the weekly pro wrestling shows and premium live events or special events, I do episodes after them. And like I said, this new podcast, Anything Goes, I'm going to try for the new episodes to be released every Thursday, 4 p.m. And for this first episode, like I said, this is my first non-pro wrestling podcast. And actually, on this first episode today, I will be talking pro wrestling. Kinda, sorta, almost. Because on this first episode, I'm sure you probably have already seen the picture by now. I'm going to talk about all 3 seasons of Young Rock, which of course was the TV show based on The Rock's life. I know most people call him Dwayne Johnson now, but for me, he's always The Rock. And I kind of heard about this, and it definitely got my attention when I first heard about it. I was definitely curious and definitely wanted to check it out when it started. Heard it was going to be airing on NBC. The first episode debuted February 16th, 2021. And was created by Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, I should say, and Jeff, sorry if I mess up this last name, Chiang, and Nakashta Khan. Again, sorry if I messed up the names. And it ran 3 seasons. And the last episode airing this year, February 24th actually. But I'll get to that in a little bit. And let's start off, of course, starring The Rock, Joseph Lee Anderson, Stacy Lua, and Anna Tulisa. Again, sorry if I mess up the names. Adrian Grohl, Bradley Constant, Matthew Willig, and of course, it is also narrated by The Rock with the whole thing for the first season being him running for president, and then that sets up what each episode's pretty much going to be about. Is he tells a different story from his life, and the first season I thought it was very good. I liked it, actually. I know it kind of got some mixed reviews, and one of the things that I know it got most kind of criticized for was some of the actors that played the pro wrestlers that were supposed to be in the show. And for some of them, I do agree. Some of the casting choices weren't too great, but I want to start off. Some of them were pretty good, I thought. Like the one that played Andre the Giant, I thought was pretty good. And the one that played the Iron Sheik wasn't too bad. But, for example, the one that played Ric Flair and the one that played Vince McMahon, and in the later seasons, Mick Foley, when he appeared as Mankind, wasn't too crazy about that one either. But overall, there were some kind of choices that the actors playing the wrestlers did a very good job of them, but there were also some that weren't so good in my opinion. Like I said, the original network and only network for Young Rock, NBC. And we start things off, actually, was in the early 2030s, where The Rock is running for president in 2032 of the United States of America. And for like most of the episodes, he's usually doing an interview about him running for president, and then he tells a story of a period of his life. He starts off when he's a young kid, and then when he's a teenager in high school, and when he's playing for the University of Miami. That's the more focus on this season. And when we start off, he's 10, growing up in Hawaii, and then when he's in high school, his family, of course, his father, Rocky Johnson, and his mother, and when he's in high school, living in Pennsylvania, and then, like I said, when he's in college, playing for the University of Miami. And I thought the choices of actors that they had play The Rock actually did a really good job. And in my opinion, I thought they did make some good casting choices with the ones who did play The Rock, or at least in my opinion anyway. Like, we start off the first season, the first episode, Working the Gimmick, which his father, Rocky Johnson, is a big part of this one. Shows him when he's young in Hawaii. And then, when he's older, he's trying to impress girls, stealing, stuff like that. So then we go into his college years too in this episode to start things off. And then the second episode was called On the Road Again. And was once again about him in high school, trying to impress the girl he likes, Karen, and takes her on a date to his dad's show that's in the middle of a flea market. And then she actually ends up getting into it and starts to like the match. And the third episode, Forward Together. And this one wasn't too bad, where there's a rival promoter going up against The Rock's grandmother's promotion, and then she thinks that Rocky Johnson will be going over there, switching sides pretty much. She sees him have a meeting with him at one time, and then they have this battle royal for the championship that was held by The Rock's grandfather, High Chief Peter Maivia, and which Rocky Johnson was supposed to go over in and get the title, but last minute she changed the finish and then had the Iron Sheik go in, eliminate Rocky Johnson, and then win the championship. And some other episodes we have. There's one, I might be going out of order a little bit now, but where he spends a day with Andre the Giant, which I thought that was a pretty good episode, actually. Like I mentioned earlier, I thought the actor that played Andre was actually a pretty good choice for the role. And also we see someone playing Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in this one. Sergeant Slaughter. And actually that was probably a different episode, I think, but not too bad though. And we have a Christmas episode, actually. And the Christmas one, he is visited by himself pretty much. Like just different versions of him. This one though, kinda, I don't know if it's actually a part of season 1 or this was kind of more like a special after the first season already ended. But like I said, he is visited by, kind of supposed to be like the ghost of Christmas's past, present, future. He talks to each version of him, the young one, the high school one, and the college one. And I thought this was a pretty good Christmas episode of Young Rock. And season 2 debuted March 15th, 2022. And the first episode, entitled Unprecedented Fatherhood, and I thought this second season was pretty good. This got into his pro wrestling career when he first started as Rocky Maivia. And then we see ones of actors such as Triple H, Stone Cold in this one, and Colt Cabana playing the Brooklyn Brawler, which I didn't mention this earlier when I was talking about some of the actors that played some of the pro wrestlers, but I thought Colt did a really good job as the Brooklyn Brawler. That is one that I actually really did enjoy. And excuse me, I don't know about anybody else, but I thought this season, when they did cover him getting into the WWF, I thought this was done pretty good, actually. And then, of course, now let's move on to season 3. This one, they covered when the crowd first, when he started as Rocky Maivia, wasn't really over. They started chanting Rocky sucks. And then when he became The Rock, and there was also another Christmas episode in season 3, Santa Claus, and this one is a pretty good episode with Mick Foley in, and where he's doing the whole Secret Santa thing, and The Rock tries to show off, buy him a new car, but Foley doesn't want it, and they do end up making good. At the end, Foley explains about how Christmas isn't all just about giving gifts and stuff. So what they do is they end up putting on kind of like a show for charity for kids with Stone Cold and Triple H, I think, might have been there. But it was back with the old Greenwich Snob character, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And that is one casting that I wasn't really too big of a fan of. And another one in this episode, The Undertaker. I thought, not trying to say anything against the actor who was playing The Undertaker, but not really the best, I don't think. I'm not sure who it was, I don't remember, but wasn't, in my opinion anyway, wasn't really the best choice for someone to be playing The Undertaker. So I thought the second Christmas episode that they did was actually better than the first one. And also, in this episode, or season, I should say, there is one episode that The Rock actually is not in. And it goes back in time and focuses on The Rock's grandfather, High Chief Peter Maivia. I want to say it showed him when he was in a James Bond movie, I think, with Pierce Brosnan, was it? And I thought that was actually a pretty good episode. And then, of course, we had the season finale while he buys his mother a house with the money he, of course, made from WWE. And that was the third and final season of Young Rock. And when it first started, I think the ratings were alright. Of course, because it did end up getting renewed for a second season. And also the first season is available on DVD, which I'm kind of surprised that these days they're still putting TV shows out on DVD with all the streaming stuff and everything, because also Young Rock is available on Peacock. But the second episode is also available on DVD and Blu-ray as well. Like I said, that's kind of surprising, to be honest. And like I said, available on Peacock if you ever want to check out. And on Rotten Tomatoes, the first season had a rating of 90% based on 31 reviews with an average rating 7.70 out of 10. I don't know too much about Rotten Tomatoes, but I'm guessing that's not too bad of a score or a rating, maybe. But I think the criticism, it did get some, but I thought, like I said, I enjoyed definitely the first season. And the ratings, not too bad. And then the second season, they did dip a little bit. And then the third season was when they moved it to Friday nights. And that definitely did not help. Of course, was going head to head against WWE Friday Night SmackDown. And most weeks, I believe, maybe every week, SmackDown actually beat Young Rock in the ratings. And then, of course, that is when NBC ended up canceling the series, which I wasn't too big of a fan of them moving it to Friday nights. Of course, going against SmackDown. What I did was I watched SmackDown live on Friday nights, of course, and then the next day I would watch it on Peacock when it became available. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people, or a lot of pro wrestling fans, the ones who did watch it, if they would watch SmackDown on Friday nights and then either DVR Young Rock or did like I did and watch it on Peacock the next day. But that was the final season, season 3. So overall, that is the first or only 3 seasons of Young Rock. I thought overall, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good show. I know a lot of people in pro wrestling, there were some, I listened to some podcasts and stuff that didn't really care for it too much, but I definitely enjoyed it. And even though, like I just said, I did enjoy it, I think 3 seasons was a pretty good run for it, actually. And then I think Also, in the last one, it was a mistake moving it to Fridays, going up against a WWE show when I don't know if it's the main audience, but I'm sure part of the audience they were going for were wrestling fans, but also maybe they were also trying to get non-wrestling fans, casual wrestling fans in there too. But like I said, as a pro wrestling nerd, I definitely wanted to check out a show that was based on The Rock. Especially, I was definitely looking forward to when they got into the part when he started wrestling, which was not yet in the first season, though we did get wrestling, of course, Soul Man Rocky Johnson being in it, and then the older wrestlers, like I talked about, who are played by actors, some good, some I don't think really looked like who they were supposed to be, but I did enjoy some of the stuff with Rocky Johnson, and I thought the actor that played his dad, Rocky Johnson, was pretty good. I thought the actress that played his mother also good, and his grandmother. And then the second season is when we got into him starting with WWF. And the one, not trying to be too negative again, but the one that played Stone Cold, the one they had for him, I didn't think was really that great either. And once again, the Triple H, of course, at that time, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I don't think he really looked like Triple H all that much, but I thought the story they told with him and Helmsley not getting along at first, and then The Rock just kind of going in business for himself, changing up the promo and everything, and then getting disciplined for that. And then also before that, I mentioned Colt Cabana being in it as the Brooklyn Brawler with his tryout match. I thought that was very good. I definitely enjoyed that episode. And again, I thought Colt Cabana did a really good job playing the Brooklyn Brawler. Maybe one of the best ones to play one of the older wrestlers. Also, I haven't mentioned him yet, but we see Harvey Whippleman, who at the time, Downtown Bruno, most of the series he was, and I thought he was actually the actor that played Harvey Whippleman, or mostly Downtown Bruno in this series, did a pretty good job of playing him. And another episode that I thought was pretty good is that they actually showed the SummerSlam 1998 ladder match, which I think is pretty famous, or I know I was a big fan of that match. And I thought they focused on that one pretty good. And there I go saying "and" again. I know I say that way too much, probably, don't I? But I thought that was a good episode. And then, again, I already said it, but the Christmas episode that was in season 3 with Mankind doing the whole Santa thing. And of course, I'm sure everybody knows how Mick Foley has really been into Christmas and Santa Claus as of late, and really makes sense that they had him really be into Christmas and have a Christmas party. Even though, like I mentioned earlier, that the actor that, I'm not saying any of these actors are bad or anything, I just don't know if they really did a good job of picking people who looked enough like the wrestlers that they were actually supposed to be playing. And I know I heard other people say that too, but there were some, like I said, that actually did a pretty good job. So that is my opinion on Young Rock, the first 3 seasons, and let me know what you thought of Young Rock as well. If you watched it, either just the first season, or if you picked up late either in the second season or the third season, or maybe you didn't watch any of it, but you want to check it out on Peacock. But like I said, if you did watch it, especially if you watched all 3 seasons like I did, let me know what you thought of it, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you thought there should have been some more stuff added in there. Let me know in the comment section, either here on Spreaker, YouTube, or wherever you listen to 360 Wrestling Podcasts. And that finishes up the first episode of 360 Anything Goes. Like I said, I had a plan to do a podcast that actually was non-pro wrestling. And then what do? The first episode, I talk a show that is about pro wrestling. But that's not going to be every week. And to be honest, I would say I'm just going to talk about each episode, just something that I want to talk about. I mean, a lot of times it probably will be about an episode of a certain TV show I like. Might even talk about a movie or just anything I want to talk about. Maybe even what's going on, something in the news or something, whatever that I want to talk about at the time when I'm ready to do a new episode. That's why it's called Anything Goes, because I'll be talking about anything, everything. And I do have an episode of a TV show in mind to talk about next week. Not going to announce it just yet in case plans change. But like I said at the top of this podcast, the plan is for Anything Goes, new episodes every Thursday, 4 p.m. And there's definitely no set time either, just like the wrestling podcasts. You never know how long it's going to be, just how long I can talk, how much I have to say. Could be 3 minutes, could be 30 minutes, could be 3 hours, who knows. But like I said, I'm going to talk about a different thing each week that I want to talk about. And a lot of weeks it might be an episode of a TV show that I like. You never know. Could be The Simpsons, could be Full House, Family Matters, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives. Or I could just talk about a movie or a certain actor I like, or food I like. Who knows? I'm not saying for sure I will ever do that, but you never know. could talk about anything. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into this first episode of 360 Anything Goes. But before I go, just a reminder that last night, Wednesday, there's a new episode available talking about AEW Dynamite. And hopefully tonight there'll be a new episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic discussing tonight's episodes of Impact Wrestling on Access TV and Ring of Honor on Honor Club. And tune in every morning to 360. Good morning, wrestling fans. I don't have anything figured out yet to say at the end of the episodes like I do on the wrestling podcast. So I'm just going to say for this first episode, have a great day, everyone, and see you next time.